So today we're diving into something pretty wild, a massive data dump that raises a really critical question. When you're flooded with an ocean of information, is it genuine transparency or is it actually a trap designed to completely overwhelm you? Everything kicks off with this number, 3 million. It's this huge, staggering figure right at the center of a major case, and it's supposed to represent total transparency, answers to everything. But what are we really looking at here? Well, we're talking about 3 million individual files, emails, memos, photos, you name it. It's an information dump that, on the surface, looks like the ultimate act of openness, like they're laying it all out on the table for us to see. But, and this is a huge but, here's the catch. What's the point of having a key to a room if that room is basically infinite? This is the exact moment where the whole idea of transparency starts to feel a little shaky. Okay, so let's actually do the math on this. Let's figure out how long it would really take for just one person to get through this mountain of data. And fair warning, the answer is kind of mind-blowing. What's just fascinating is how fast these numbers get out of control. Let's imagine you're a machine, and you only spend 1 minute on each document. That's 3 million minutes, right? Which is 50,000 hours. If you worked 24/7, no sleeping, no eating, no breaks, you'd be doing this for almost 6 years straight. But of course, nobody works 24/7. That's not how humans operate. So what happens when you factor in a normal, realistic 8-hour workday? Well, that 6-year task suddenly explodes to 24 years, a quarter of a century, just to read through the files one time. And you gotta remember, 1 minute per file is being super optimistic. Look at how this gets even crazier. You spend just 2 minutes on each document, the task jumps to 48 years. What about 5 minutes, which is probably more realistic for a complex document? 120 years. We've just gone from a career to multiple human lifetimes. So here's the real takeaway. The task isn't just difficult, it's impossible. Like fundamentally, mathematically impossible for any one person to ever complete. And that impossibility leads us to a really powerful theory. Now, you could argue this was just a clumsy but genuine attempt to be transparent, but what if that was never the case? What if the goal was never for us to actually understand any of it? And that question, that changes everything. If the goal wasn't clarity, then what was it? This theory we're exploring suggests a much more chilling alternative. This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of it. Was this data dump less about releasing information and more like a magician's trick? A classic look over here moment designed to soak up all our attention? The idea is that our focus, our brain power, even our outrage, it's all a limited resource, and it can be strategically drained away on a task that has no end. The theory goes that something so big was happening in the background that it required an equally massive distraction. It's like they built this gigantic, endless haystack and told everyone there were needles inside, just to keep us all so busy digging that we'd never look up and see what was happening right next to us. So you end up with this really stark contrast. On one side, you've got the show, this mountain of data that fascinates the public and seems transparent but is impossible to get through. And on the other side, you've got the substance, the real unknown event that's just happening in the background, totally unnoticed. This takes us even deeper, and it really forces us to question the systems we trust and what we even mean by the word transparency. It moves beyond just one event and into a potential pattern, what this analysis calls an architecture of deception. And that brings up a really powerful question. Seriously, think about it for a second. If this data truly held the smoking gun, the kind of evidence that could bring them down, why on earth would they ever let it see the light of day? This same logic can be applied to the digital world we live in every day. We're always told that firewalls are there to protect our data from hackers. But this theory flips that on its head and asks, could they also be there to protect institutional secrets from us? I mean, the tools for control are already there. Insiders can change or delete information, and our own data is constantly being managed and used. It kind of suggests a system where we're given access but are structurally blocked from ever reaching true understanding. And all of this boils down to a single concept: institutional deception. It's the theory that what looks like an open book is actually a very sophisticated, carefully constructed wall designed to hide the stuff that really matters. Which leaves us with one last, kind of haunting thought that sits at the very core of this entire theory.
So we were handed a 3 million-piece puzzle with no picture on the box, and we were told the truth was somewhere inside. But if all of that was just a show, then the real question isn't about what we saw. It's about what we didn't see. What could possibly be going on behind the curtain that was so important, so massive, that it required a 24-year-long distraction? We don't have the answer. We're just left with the question. And maybe that's the most important thing to take away from all this.